Listen to the sound of my voice. You're getting sleepy. Wait, no, you might be driving. Well, there goes the intro I had planned. How about this? If you are driving, did you notice the last exit you passed? Or do you remember where you were on the road 5 minutes ago? If you answered no to those questions, you're already familiar with this episode's topic. There may not have been any spinning spirals or dangling pocket watches, but you may have just entered into another state, and not geographically. I'm your host, Emily Prokop, and this is the Story Behind Hypnosis. But first, a quick message. Sometimes, some of the best stories are told with quotes. That's why I like featuring other podcasters as voice actors in episodes of The Story Behind. They've all been wonderful at providing their voices to the show, and I hope you've enjoyed what they've brought to The Story Behind. This is a quick reminder to check out their shows, which you can find in the show notes of the episodes they're on, as well as at thestorybehindpodcast.com. You've probably heard the phrase, the power of suggestion. It can be traced back to religious ceremonies in ancient India, Greece, and Egypt. Back then, religion, science, and medicine were all one and the same. So when someone got sick, it was common to be medicated by way of a ritual trance. This is considered by some to be the predecessor to what's known in modern times as hypnosis for pain management. The precursor for hypnosis as we know it today came from a German physician in the 1700s named Franz Mesmer. As you may have guessed, the word mesmerize came from his last name. He believed an invisible fluid that ran through the body was controlled by magnetism, and through putting his subjects into a trance-like state and using the power of suggestion, ailments could be healed. While his magnetic fluid idea was proven false and he was ostracized, it was noted that many of those who had been participant in his parlor tricks did see an improvement in their health following being mesmerized. In the mid-1800s, Scottish surgeon James Braid dismissed Mesmer's idea of magnetic fluid, but he did want to get to the bottom of the trance-like state and physical effects. He was the one who coined the term hypnosis, named for the Greek deity Hypnos, the personification of sleep. Even when he realized this state of mind wasn't necessarily sleep and tried to change the name, the term had already become too popular. The state of mind is most associated with being relaxed and at ease, but it was in a hypnotic state that clairvoyant Ella Salomon collapsed and died when she was asked to give medical advice about the hypnotist's brother. And it was said at the time she did so because her brain couldn't handle the excitement. We may never know the real reason of her death since it was over 100 years ago, but the Journal of the American Medical Association deems this the first person to die while under hypnosis. The example I gave in the beginning of this episode is most commonly used to describe hypnosis to people. Have you ever driven home and gotten so caught up in thinking of other things or listening to podcasts you missed your exit? Or you've gotten home only to realize you don't remember the actual journey? These are common examples of times we supposedly hypnotize ourselves, and hypnotism, as performed by both therapists and performers, puts the subject into a state where they can eliminate external stimuli and concentrate only on what's being suggested to them. I've noticed that meditation and mindfulness techniques follow a similar pattern. The point of all of it is to be able to use the power of suggestion for that part of the brain you don't realize you're using, the one that gives you muscle memory when typing at a keyboard or driving home without needing to concentrate on signs. If a person can put suggestions into that area of the brain, it might become a habit in the case of clinical hypnosis, or it can make you comfortable and unaware of ridicule if you happen to get called up on stage during a hypnotist performance and, say, dance up and down the aisles in front of 200 college students, many of whom are your friends. Yeah, if you couldn't tell, that was me about 15 years ago. But even as I'm saying that now and recounting the story, I'm not embarrassed. But it might be because the hypnotist suggested I wouldn't be embarrassed about this story at a later time. I don't know. But while hypnotism is recognized in some parts of the medical community as a valid form of therapy, others say it might be a placebo effect. And we may only be listening to the power of suggestion because of our need to please others or follow suggestions from those we hold in high regard. As far as using it for pain management, neuroscientists have studied the brains of those with chronic pain under hypnosis and found a decrease in activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part that registers pain, when it suggested that the pain is in fact minor. Hypnobirthing classes have even become popular to help women in labor manage their pain. So do those street hypnotists have the ability to walk into a delivery room in place of an epidural? Probably not. Those who seek hypnosis as treatment for pain or even phobias or post-traumatic stress disorder have to work with a therapist over weeks or months. But if you go to a hypnotism show, all audience members will be asked to try out an exercise for the performer to determine who is easily hypnotizable. And 1 in 6 people are what's known as somnambulists, which means they're easily hypnotized. By the way, the word somnambulist comes from the Roman equivalent to hypnos, somnos, which is also where the word insomnia comes from. You're listening to a somnambulist right now, as I've been to 2 hypnotism shows. Both times, I was brought on stage and did things like forgetting what number comes after 5, or I've been made to feel really hot and then really cold within a matter of seconds. And my crowning achievement? Thinking I knew ballet well enough to perform it in front of people. But as those who have been on stage will tell you, you don't lose control of yourself. You're actually very aware of what's going on and what you're doing. But because the part of your brain that registers anxiety or nerves is shut down at that point, you're more open to doing those things regardless of the consequences. Some have even compared hypnosis to the effects of narcotics for this reason. Oh, and one more thing. The pocket watch associated with hypnosis that you usually see in movies is not really common practice. But sometimes an object like a pocket watch can be used to help focus the attention of an individual enough to help facilitate hypnosis. Information for this episode was sourced from Encyclopeda Britannica, How Stuff Works, historyofhypnosis.org, Psychology Today, and more links which can be found in the show notes at thestorybehindpodcast.com. Normally, this is where I would tell you to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, but I'd love for you to join in on the conversation with other trivia buffs in the Story Behind Facebook group, which I'll link to in the show notes at thestorybehindpodcast.com. Thanks for listening.